Hello, good morning and welcome to Tuesday's edition of IrelandAM.
Yes, it's great to have you with us. It's the 10th of December. We've got lots coming up on today's show.
We do. Now, it's a story that has the world watching. It's been going on for quite a few days now. A 26-year-old man, he has been charged with the murder of a healthcare boss in New York City. We'll have more on that at 7:35 this morning.
From Google's top searches to social media bans, we're going to round up the latest tech news before 8 o'clock.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about that ban in Australia, have we?
know.
The under-16s on social media.
Very interesting, and a couple other countries look like they're following suit as well. As it's something you'd like to see. 0896 111 111.
Yeah, taking them away, I think would be great. Plus, Belfast filmmaker Trevor Birney on the worldwide success of the Kneecap movie, which dominated at the British Film Awards, and the lads were happy to say was, isn't it funny, we won everything at the British Film Awards and it's an Irish film.
I know, I watched the weekend. It's very, very good. Looking forward to catching up with him. Karen, what else have we got?
Well, Boyband fans, you will want to stay tuned for Boys Life. Yes, Keith Duffy and Brian McFadden are going to be here at 9:20. Plus, we're making edible Christmas gifts and DIY decorations. And a top trichologist helps us fix our wintry scalp woes. But now it's good morning to Deric. What is the weather like where you are today, Deric?
Yeah, good morning, KK. Well, ahead of our trip to Tip to spend a morning with the farmers for the festive lights, we've landed here in Kilbarrack in North County Dublin. Now, it's a frosty start out there this morning. In fact, we had a sharp frost late last night, and elsewhere we're going to see some nice sunshine. In fact, some low winter sunshine, so we'll take that and run with it out there for the 10th of the month. Now, Panto season almost in full swing. Mother Goose, the Limerick Panto is no exception. In fact, the cast and crew are doing the rehearsals here in Kilbarrack this morning, so we're going to be catching up with Faye Short, Richie Hayes and all the gang a little bit later on this Tuesday. Oh yes, we are.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Carmela, Ger, Tommy Bjorn, Sean Malliard, Cian live here from Kilbarrack in North County Dublin this morning. The Limerick Panto up and running at the moment. Mother Goose and the rehearsals are here, so we're going to be catching up with the cast and crew a little bit later on at 8:45. So mark that one down. So let's take an opening look at weather this morning now with Niall Evers with us on cameras as we send birthday wishes to Maggie Boat, who's 74 this morning. Happy birthday, Maggie. Out there, in fact, for your birthday, it's a cold and it's a frosty start. We certainly had a sharp frost late last night, and in fact into this morning now, a pretty frosty one under the cover of darkness, but it is holding dry and settle across the island. That's the good news out there now this 10th of the month in those light northeasterly breezes. Now right across the day, in fact, it is a cold day in store, so once again get the layers on. Elsewhere we will see a pretty decent day in store. Take a look at the map because we have some really nice sunshine. Once again, some low winter sunshine in the mix, and get the winter woolies on with Top Valley struggling there once again today in and around 5 to 8 degrees. Into tonight then, mainly calm across the island, good dry clear skies, and some frost once again, a sharp frost in the mix, some freezing fog with some icy stretches once again, so taking nice and easy on the roads. Quite a cold night in store. Sub-zero values once again back to around freezing to -3 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up here in a dry and settled but a cold Kilbarrack in North County Dublin this morning. Ben mi bio Rachel shocked. Condition Stankovo.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
You're very welcome back. Now, coming up next, we're going to be reviewing today's newspapers.
Yeah, and we'll be covering the top stories. If you want to get in contact, it's 0896 111 111, because in this, we are going to be talking to you about the common cold, and there were some wild things said in the IrelandAM office over the past few days over what cures a common cold. One of them has to do with an onion, and I hadn't heard that one before, so you know what to do.
Last week I had the cold, and I would have tried anything. So yeah, if you have any
what did you do, just mainline coffee?
Slept. 0896 111 111, get in touch. We'll see you back here shortly.
It's time now to take a look at today's papers. We're starting with the Examiner, which reads, "New life and a new beginning as Syrians welcome new era." For Syrians living in Ireland, the toppling of the Assad dictatorship was a day they thought would never come. There is now, quote, "new life and a new beginning for the first time in more than 50 years."
The Irish Times also leads with the latest in Syria. Their headline, checkpoints and guard posts burned or abandoned on the road into Syria.
The Mirror goes with Meehan Streets. Veronica Guerin's killer, Brian Meehan, has been granted monthly days out of prison without any escort.
The Sun leads with Give Dan Up or face 15 years in Slammer. Associates of gang boss David Kinnan have been urged to turn him in or face 15 years in jail.
The Star leads with a similar story saying Kim Jong-un. Garda boss Drew Harris has vowed to chase the Kinhan cartel wherever it travelled amid claims that North Korea and Iran are among the few bolt holes left to them.
The Herald also goes with that story. If Kinahan's run to Russia, we'll pursue. Simon Harris.
The Independent's front page, Fianna Fáil TD targeted by poison pen letter on the eve of the election. The anonymous letter was sent to Tánaiste Micheál Martin and others just days before the general election.
Independents ratcheted up their demands. The top story in the Daily Mail, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are cooling on a coalition supported by independent TDs because of the excessive demands being made for ministerial jobs.
Here with today's top stories is political correspondent for the Irish Mirror, who's got that Kim Jong-un line this morning, Louise Byrne, and political editor for the Sunday Times. It is Hugh O'Connell.
Good morning.
You doff the cap to her for that, for the pun on the front of that today.
Nothing to do with me, unfortunately.
Nothing to do with you.
Louise.
Listen, government formation talks are still happening. That's all going on behind the scenes. We're not anywhere close. Just very quickly, we're not anywhere close to forming a government yet, Louise.
No, but the talks proper are starting today. Fianna Fáil's Jack Chambers and Fine Gael's Helen McEntee will meet this evening, and that is kind of the start of official government formation talks. But I think the third leg of the stool is the big question. Will Labour give in? Is there enough support in the Labour Party to come into a government? The Independents, as the front page of the Irish Daily Mail said, are they making too many demands? So myself and Hugh were saying earlier, it's going to be kind of that phony war phase for a couple of weeks with very little for us to actually do other than just wait and watch and try and dig.
Wait and see what is going to happen. Well, there's a number of seats up for grabs, of course, but one, of course, is the Minister for Health, with Stephen Donnelly not getting elected.
Right, yeah.
And looking at areas, particularly we've talked about Limerick Hospital a number of times, but the Midwest of Ireland, so Clare, Limerick and North Tipperary, the lowest 5-year survival rate of the most common cancers.
Yeah, that's right. So this is the National Cancer Registry annual report for 2020 to 2022, and it's looking at the 5-year net survival rates for various forms of cancer. So if you take colorectal cancer, for example, the 5-year net survival rate was 63.5% nationally, and that applies to most other areas of the country. But in the Midwest, the survival rate is 58.4%. So it's a noticeable difference. And then lung cancer, 20.8%, 5-year net survival rate, but that drops to 16.1% in the Midwest. And then breast cancer, the 5-year net survival rate was 85%, but the figure for the Midwest was 80.1%. So there's a noticeable, I suppose you'd say, postcode lottery almost, that if you get sick with these kind of cancers in the Midwest, your survival rate is lower than it would be if you were in other parts of the country.
And this is something that's very interesting. It's something that is talked about amongst people in the Midwest themselves. I certainly know that we'll do it at home, because Professor Deirdre Murray, she says, she's Professor of Epidemiology at UCC, she doesn't know why it happens, but an educated guess would be that we know the Midwest would have the highest portion of people who are extremely disadvantaged. And this is something that does come up when you're at home talking to people, that it's like, well, we've got poorer people here.
And I mean, that's so wrong in a country as rich as Ireland is, and with a country with such medical expertise here, that, you know, just because you're from a certain area or you're from a disadvantaged area, that you have a less chance of survival. That's not right. And I think perhaps this is going to have to be looked at, of why are people less likely to survive these cancers because they live in a certain area. And I mean, if you look at the kind of overall figures, there were 44,000 cancers or related tumours diagnosed each year in the period from 2020 to 2022. And then there was just 9,800 people died. So, like, there is quite a high survival rate overall. I mean, if you're looking at, 10,000 people just shy of dying a year out of 44,000 people, it's a lot of people, but that's also a lot of people surviving. So you would question why, just because you live in a certain part of the country, you've less chance. It's not right at all, is it?
Yeah, not in a country that is as wealthy as it is to be able to pick out one simple area. There is, of course, cancer. There's a centre of excellence, all the stuff that's happening in the University Hospital in Limerick. 0896 111 111 to get in contact with us if you're someone who have gone through the cancer care services in the system in the Midwest region, or indeed anywhere.
Shocking.
We'd love to hear from you.
The differences in survival rates and some of those cancers.
Crazy,
really is. Let's turn to Israel now, because obviously it's been front of the papers for the last year, but this is now what is deemed as the trial of the century. Benjamin Netanyahu is going to stand trial.
Yeah, this is a trial and charges that predate the war breaking out in 2022 after after the Hamas attack on Israel and Israel's retaliation in Gaza, which we've seen throughout the last year. So he's charged with bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. And what's interesting about Bibi Netanyahu is that he's enormously unpopular in Israel, and had been in the 4 or 5 years leading up to October 2022. As a wartime leader, normally you're expected to be quite popular at home because people rally around the flag and rally around the leader, but he's extraordinarily unpopular. It's 3 cases involving gifts from millionaire friends and for allegedly seeking regulatory favours for media tycoons in return for favourable coverage. He's described this as a witch hunt, a phrase familiar. I guess Donald Trump has described some of the allegations and some of the cases against him as a witch hunt as well. And this has bitterly divided Israel and had been bitterly dividing Israel in the years leading up to 2022.
He's been in power since 2009.
On and off he has. I mean, Israel has had, I think, between 2019 and 2022, had like 3 or 4 elections. He was in actually a rotating prime ministerial arrangement with another party. But rather than facilitating a peaceful transfer of power like we had here, he actually reneged on that deal and the government collapsed and there had to be another election. So there's been all sorts of political, I suppose, crises in Israel leading up to this situation where they've been embroiled in a war on several fronts: Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and now we see in recent days with the collapse of the Assad regime in Syria that they're pushing further into the Golan Heights as well.
And there was talks, not to get too conspiratorial, but that this war was very good to push down the corruption charges, to try to get people to rally around him.
Well, it certainly pushed it off the agenda.
It pushed it off the agenda, but now they're coming for him.
Now they're coming for him, and of course, don't forget as well, there's a warrant out for his arrest from the International Criminal Court. So he's mired in legal difficulties, but of course he wouldn't be the first international politician mired in legal difficulties.
No, absolutely not. No. Let's turn to something a bit closer to home. A bit of good news, good and news, bad, I suppose. The Golden Globe nominations are out, and from an Irish point of view, do you? Yeah.
Love the Golden Globes. Bit of crack.
Is that the one that Ricky Gervais has hosted? Oh, well, I like that.
Yeah.
He's not invited back anymore, is he?
No.
Colin Farrell and Andrew Scott are nominated.
Yeah, great news for Colin Farrell and Andrew Scott. Colin Farrell, I think everyone was really surprised when they saw those pictures and videos of him in the Penguin. And so that work is paid off for him. And similarly, Andrew Scott nominated for Best Male Actor in a Limited Series for Ripley. So great news for them. And of course, not the first time either of them have been nominated. So hopefully there will be some good luck there. But I think some disappointment as well for Saoirse Ronan. It was expected that she might be nominated for the Best Supporting Actress for her role in Blitz. And then Paul Mescal, of course, was in Gladiator 2. And it was expected that he might get the nod for that. So some disappointment, but good news overall. And hopefully one of the 2 lads, or possibly both, can take it home when they're
fighting against each other. They can have a rotating, if they win it, they'll have a rotating ownership of the Golden Globe. We like to do that.
We like rotation here.
Gladiator 2 hasn't got the same recognition this time around, has it? There's no Hans Zimmer. Did Hans Zimmer do the soundtrack for it this time?
No, he didn't do the soundtrack for it. He handed it
to... It all went wrong.
He handed it to one of his protégés because he was like, I don't want to muddy the waters. I want to get stuck in it.
I've heard mixed reviews, I think would be a fair thing to say about Gladiator 2.
Universally bad reviews for Gladiator 2, being quite honest.
Although disappointing.
Some of the Irish reviews would be like, but Paul Mescal.
Paul Mescal great in it. Jumped the shark. Very quickly, let's talk about the BBC are all going on for remedies for common cold at the minute because it is the season and all that. But in our office, some of the stuff that was coming up, and I was like, what are people talking about? Put half an onion in the child's bedroom to, quote, soak up toxins. That was said in our office yesterday. Is there any truth to this? Rub Vicks on your feet and cover with socks when going to bed. Put methanol... People are... Put methanol or albus oil drops in a bowl of warm water in a room overnight to help ease a dry cough, and slightly raise the child's cot with a flat pillow or a towel under their mattress. Have you heard of those?
No, haven't
done
heard
any of
any of those. Well, the Albus oil and stuff to try and open up the airways. Do you guys have any cold remedies?
My mother used to get, now it has to be TK red lemonade, but she used to boil it and put it in a cup. And like, it was gross, but also like
soothing
at the same time. Like, but yeah, she swears by it.
And I can more like relief than actual cure.
Yeah.
Oh, it probably is, yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's no such thing as a cure, just relief to get you through it. That's the way it is.
Flat 7-Up, that is medicinally proved. What do you
that's
have
a cure
in your
for
house?
all sorts of...
For all things.
Hangovers included.
Yes. Do you have anything in the O'Connell household?
Nah, like vitamin C, all that kind of stuff, all that good stuff, you know.
Good night's sleep.
We try to be a bit more preventative in our household. Doesn't always work, though, obviously.
Do you have any weird ones?
No,
Anything Welsh?
No, I don't think so.
No, right, lads. Can anyone give us some mad ones? The common cold. I liked the onion.
Do you have any?
No.
You're asking us.
No, I just, that's what we're here to ask people.
The onion's pretty weird.
The onion is the weirdest one I've ever heard.
Let us know if you've got a trick, a hack, 0896 111 111. Hugh O'Connell from the Sunday Times. Great to have you with us. And Louise Byrne, of course, the Irish Mayor.
Thank you
off,
so
of course,
much,
to your headline.
guys.
Well done. Coming up later, we're going to be rounding up the tech news.
Plus, after a 5-day manhunt, a suspect has been charged with the murder of a healthcare CEO in New York. You've been following the story for the last few days. We're going to have more on it next.
Now, last Wednesday, the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, was shot dead outside a Manhattan hotel, prompting a 5-day manhunt to find the shooter.
A man has now been charged with his murder. Joining us from the United States is David Smith, the Guardian's Washington, D.C. Bureau Chief. Thank you so much for joining us, David. Can you tell us an update on who has been charged with this murder?
There's a man named Luigi Mangione, aged 26. He was actually caught at a McDonald's restaurant. Basically, a member of staff there recognised him from all these ID photos that have been distributed and called the police. They came to the McDonald's. He was sitting there eating. He was wearing a blue surgical mask at the time. They asked him to remove it. They asked him if he'd been in New York recently. At that point, according to police, he started shaking and was nervous. And soon after, he was taken into custody. And in the last few hours, he has been charged with murder by New York police. We know he had a fairly comfortable upbringing, fairly middle class, went to a private school, performed well academically, was involved in student wrestling and so on. He's since had connections with a few states. He's travelled a bit. And we also know he did suffer some quite severe back pain in recent months and years, which inhibited his life and may have been obviously a factor in why he allegedly carried out this murder.
Okay, because that is something that is not quite known at the moment. Can you give us a bit of an update on the man who was shot outside this New York hotel and the background of Brian Thompson, who is the CEO of United Healthcare?
Yeah, Brian Thompson, running really one of the biggest health insurance companies in America and earning millions of dollars. He had a wife and children. They put out a statement, obviously saying what a tragedy this was. He'd worked in that industry for years, worked his way up to the top, and this was obviously very shocking to everybody who knew him. Right in the heart of Manhattan, a hotel that I've been to. Normally, lots of people around. This was obviously very early in the morning, and still sending shockwaves among his colleagues.
Obviously, you've mentioned there, we don't know what the motive is yet. There's been an awful lot of chatter online about 6 relatives. You mentioned his back pain there and the fact that this was a person who was in charge of an insurance agency. And let's be honest, when it comes to healthcare in America, it is very different to what we're used to here in Europe. It can be quite fractious, right? It can be a very difficult situation for people to get insurance covers and to get those paid.
Yes, it's such a different model from Europe. There's just not the same social safety net. If you fall ill in America, you can be in big trouble. You can run up huge debts. It's very bureaucratic in terms of whether insurance will cover you or not. This has been a long-running issue in presidential elections, political debates for years, if not decades. Of course, Barack Obama introduced the Affordable Care Act, which at least added some millions of people to health insurance, but it's still debated whether how good that system is and how expensive it is. And really, this murder of Brian Thompson has exposed that debate, that anger for many Americans. Some actually said they were rooting for the assassin. He certainly seems to have had that as a motive. I mean, when he was arrested, among his possessions there was a gun, and there was also an apparent manifesto which said, quote, "These parasites had it coming." This is according to police. And, I do apologize for any strife and trauma, but it had to be done. And as you would expect, officials, including the governor of Pennsylvania, have very clearly condemned vigilante justice of this nature and said, there can never be an excuse for murder. But if you take one look at social media, people have seen this to either express sympathy with the alleged assassin or certainly tell their own stories about how wretched the American healthcare system is.
Yeah, we're seeing that all over social media around this situation. Now, I found out there that the gun that was used was a 3D printed weapon, and on the shell casing, "Deny, defend, depose" was written on them. Do we know what the meaning behind those three words might have meant?
It's believed to be a line that is used by the health insurance companies, really as an excuse to not cover people's health costs. I think maybe 10 or 20 years ago, a book was written using those words, and that was analysing the problems in the American healthcare industry, just how it's seen as driven by a profit motive rather than caring for people. And hence the widespread anger over chief executives making millions of dollars while lots of people struggle for coverage. Even in the last few weeks, for example, there was some dispute over whether health insurance would necessarily cover when you get anaesthetic. Would there be a time limit on that? And under pressure, that was rolled back. But it sort of illustrates how this is really capitalism at its worst, many would argue, and it's all about profit.
It's inhuman, and we know that Luigi, the man who has been arrested, that he was an anti-capitalist. Essentially, that's what he said in some of his manifesto. He was like that when he was in college, doing very well in college. Can we talk about that? Because on the front of the English Daily Mail, it's got "Hot Assassin" is what they've called him. We know that his jacket, which they think is, the Irish one too, sorry. We know that his jacket, which is believed to be a Levi's jacket that he was wearing when he shot this man, like he did murder someone, that you can't get it in stock anymore because everyone's bought it. He's become a folk hero, like somewhat of a Robin Hood, but someone is dead. He killed someone.
And just to give you another example, the McDonald's where he was arrested is apparently getting lots of very negative reviews online now. People are pouring on the hate and somehow blaming the McDonald's. If you think of the history of America, the frontier spirit, the Wild West, it feels like some of that is still present. And two big American themes came together here. Both the easy access to firearms, how easy people can get a gun, and as you mentioned in this instance, even a 3D printed gun, but then also tremendous frustrations over healthcare and the real lack of a European-style welfare state, social safety net, and so on. And hence you have these strange, ambivalent feelings in a case like this. Another media show last few hours, somebody said they felt joy at watching this crime, watching this man murdered, and then yes, you stop and think, hang on a sec, a man who had children, who was living, going about his business was gunned down. How can anybody possibly applaud that? And I think it's another indication, along with so much that's happened in the Donald Trump era, still the tremendous poverty in the US, the phenomenal inequality where you now have a handful of billionaires, even 1 or 2 trillionaires, thinking of Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and so on. For all the innovation and excitement of America, there is also something deeply wrong sometimes. It's a society of winners and losers. Absolutely. And that manifests itself sometimes in very ugly ways.
Well, we know this man has been denied bail and that, according to the Pennsylvania governor, justice will be done. So we will be keeping an eye on this. David Smith, the Washington, D.C. Bureau Chief in Washington Live this morning for The Guardian. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
David. Karen, what have we got next?
Well, from what we've been Googling all year to social media bans, we will be rounding up the very latest tech news for you. That's coming up after the break.
You're very welcome back. Now, from Google's state-of-the-art computer chip Insane to Australia's teen social media ban.
Tech journalist Elaine Burke is here with all of the updates in the tech world. First, good morning to you, Elaine.
Morning.
So we're talking about a quantum computing chip, but let's break it way down. What's quantum computing?
Yeah, you're going way down when it comes to quantum computing because you're essentially looking at how things behave in terms of physics on a very, very, very tiny level. So it's this quantum level beyond atomic scale. And the way things behave there is that you can have things like superposition, where something is kind of in 2 positions at once until it's observed, is kind of how it's described in the most simplistic terms. Now, thankfully, I did a podcast on quantum computing very recently where you can really get into all of this. But trying to apply quantum physics to computing can open up new ways of computing and maybe, speed up problem solving in certain areas in the way that's made. So there are efforts being made to apply those quantum physics to computer chips, basically. So they'll behave differently because our traditional computing is 1s and 0s. It's binary. It's kind of a switch is on or it's off. Whereas if you can create superposition in computing terms, you can have it a 1 or a 0, or it's kind of both at once.
So they're talking like this could completely revolutionise, finding cures for diseases, for all sorts of things. Is that right?
So complex problems that are solved by computing would be things like drug discovery, because you're trying to, even things like with AlphaFold, which was an AI program figuring out protein folding, you're trying to figure out the structures of atoms and solve complex mathematical problems to do that. So drug discovery is a really computing intensive process. So that's why that's also always listed as something that quantum computing could be able to do. Climate modelling is another mathematically intensive process that this could possibly be applied.
So there's good and there's bad sides to it as well. But when Google have unveiled this new chip, so it claims it could take in just 5 minutes, it could solve a problem that would currently take the world's fastest supercomputer 10 septillion, which is at 25 zeros years.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's wild. So this Willow chip is kind of being hailed as this breakthrough. But what its breakthrough actually is, those kind of timelines, you hear that a lot in quantum computing about how it might be faster than traditional computing methods in solving complex problems. But what they've really done with this chip that's kind of interesting is they've fixed a lot of what's called error correction. So when you add qubits, the more qubits you have on a chip, the more chance you have of creating errors. And that's obviously a problem when you're trying to solve problems. So they've fixed a lot of error correction with this chip. But there's actually an Irish company called Equal One that's helping to develop computer chips for quantum computing. And they're really competing on the world stage with this. They'd be competing with Google on this kind of technology. And they've created chips that they believe will be able to be made in what are the traditional foundries for making chips. So on the traditional silicon chip making factories that we currently use. So there's lots of breakthroughs happening. But I will say this technology in terms of practical use is still possibly decades out. It's still going to take billions of investment to really progress. But breakthroughs like this, like the Willow chip, like Equal One's recent breakthroughs in system-on-chip manufacturing, are going to get us to that point. And how it's used as well in terms of quantum computing, do we use it for things that would be for public good, like drug discovery, like climate modelling, would be an important thing to nail down. And Ireland even has a quantum computing policy called Quantum 2030, which
Wow.
many people might not be aware of.
The top Google searches are out as well. The Euros is up there.
a few
Kate
surprises, isn't
Middleton,
there?
Baby Reindeer, Olympics. It's mad some of the things that you kind of forget have happened.
Yeah, what surprised you, Elaine, in that list?
2024.
Fool Me Once is a TV show that's on the list. It came out in January and I had never heard of it until it turned up on this list. But obviously it was very popular. Yeah. So essentially what this list is, it's trending searches. So it compares search data from 2024 to the previous year and identifies which one saw a sustained growth in interest. So that's kind of how you get this idea of what was a trending topic in that year. And that's what you find here. You find it's all the things that happened in a year. The Euros happened, the US election happened, the Kate Middleton
really
controversy and conspiracy theories were
that
spreading.
was awful before her diagnosis was revealed.
And the doctored photo, whatever else as well.
And it's things that people search for as well. Like people were interested in that story, so they were looking it up online. So
can we move on to a story that happened a couple of weeks ago, but I'm fascinated by this as well and really interested to see where it progresses, is what's happened in Australia and this ban on social media for under 16s. Is it look like it could go ahead? And what way do you think other countries are seeing it?
So, I mean, one analyst actually said it's not a case of if, but when this law will be repealed. So I would yes. So it may not actually transpire to take any effect. It's meant to come into full enforcement by December 2025. And before that, there's probably going to be an election in Australia. A change of government might actually change the plans here. But this was a piece of legislation that the current government seemingly rushed through in face of opposition parties. So it seems like even the opposition is keen on legislating in some way for teens' use of social media. But because this legislation was rushed through, it kind of bears all those hallmarks. It doesn't really have any clear guidelines on its enforcement. It's not very clear on what platforms it's going to regulate, but they have separately issued statements to say that it won't apply to certain platforms such as WhatsApp and YouTube, because YouTube has an educational aspect to it, and that's being queried as problematic. So it's not clear on what platforms it's legislating for. It's not clear on how the age gating is meant to work. They're currently conducting a study which won't have results until summer next year in terms of how they're going to, effectively have age gating on platforms, because no one has figured this out. No one has figured out the age gating. So various countries have issued laws and restrictions in terms of different age groups accessing social media, and that's meant to be enforced by the platforms. And in the case of this Australia ban, if platforms are found to be in breach of it, they could be fined up to 49.5 million Australian dollars.
Because it was seen, like, for any parent who saw this news, it was like, oh, thank God, something's going to be done about it. And, like, actually the Prime Minister said...
But if you find the platforms, the parents are the ones who let the kids on the platforms to begin with in a lot of cases. So how would you actually enforce this and take into account that?
It's the peer pressure. And I read this quote, which I thought was really interesting. For too long, parents have had the impossible choice between giving in and getting their child an addictive device or seeing their child isolated and being left out. I think for a lot of parents, they would definitely agree with that. I would love to know 0896 111 111 if you do feel that you haven't wanted to give your kid a phone, but you felt that you had to because all their pals did. 0896 111 111. But Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram and X are going to be banned. Gaming and messaging platforms such as WhatsApp and YouTube look like they're going to be kept in.
Yeah, and that's what children actually use. So they're gaming on systems where they can interact, and that's so I don't think this really accounts for how people use things, but also it doesn't account for the fact that at 16 you don't suddenly know how to actually manage these platforms, and it actually has given them a cliff edge of a problem if they hit 16 and then suddenly they're released into this world and have no skills to navigate it. It might actually drive their use underground. They might actually turn to the dark web to access the...
Stop it.
No, we're not going
This is what the experts are saying, and this law has not
VPN.
listened to experts. Even though they've cited experts, the experts have come out and say that their research has been misinterpreted, even though it's been cited in this law.
The experts from the social media companies, by any chance. Elaine Burke for Tech's Sake podcast. If you want to learn about quantum computing, check it out. Thank you so much.
Lots more still to come on IrelandAM.
Now it's time to take a look at today's papers. We'll start with the Examiner. It reads, new life and a new beginning as Syrians welcome new era. For Syrians living in Ireland, the toppling of the Assad dictatorship was a day they thought would never come. There is now new life and a new beginning for the first time in more than 50 years.
The Irish Times also leads with the latest in Syria. Their headline, checkpoints and guard posts burned or abandoned on the road into Syria.
The Mirror goes with Meehan Streets. Veronica Guerin's killer, Brian Meehan, has been granted monthly days out of prison without any escort.
The Sun leads with Give Up Dan or face 15 years in Slammer. Associates of gang boss Daniel Kinnan have been urged to turn him in or face 15 years in jail.
The Star leads with a similar story saying John run. Garda boss Drew Harris has vowed to chase the Kinahan cartel wherever it travelled to make claims that North Korea and Iran are among the few bolt holes left to them.
The Herald also goes with that story. If Kinahan's run to Russia, we'll pursue. That is from Drew Harris.
The Independent says Fianna Fáil TD targeted by poison pen letter on the eve of election. The anonymous letter was sent to Tánaiste Micheál Martin and others just days before the general election.
And finally, independents ratchet up their demands. That's the top story in the Daily Mail. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are cooling on a coalition supported by independent TDs because of the excessive demands being made for ministerial jobs.
You were talking about cures for cold. 'Tis the season. I've poured JJ at home now with the temperature. Thank God for Nurofen and Calpol. It's almost like that Michael McIntyre, you know, the very clip, the very first time you give him Calpol to your baby, you're like, how much is too much? How many hours is it? How many hours? And that's like, filling up the syringes, just like firing the Calpol.
How much can I give to? But it works wonders.
A miracle. Nurofen has honestly saved us.
I thought they'd taken all the good stuff out of it. Sorry, not the good stuff, but some of the stuff out of it. Sorry.
No, it's still very
whatever it is.
You can tell that the purple Calpol was a favourite in my house for many a year.
Still works wonders, even without the good stuff. Paula, now I tried this last week. I swear by a hot whiskey. It soothes a sore throat and helps you sleep. But I find it wears off quite quick, so you have to go
Top
again.
it up, have another one.
And then, sore head the following day.
Did you put the cloves in?
Yeah. Lemon and cloves.
Fair play.
Yeah,
lovely.
Business.
Very thorough. Richie says, I was asthmatic as a kid. My mum used to put a massive bowl of onions. Sorry, have you read this one out already?
No.
Or did the team say this? Yeah. So my mum would put a massive bowl of onions and water beside my bed. And this was before inhalers existed. So what's the properties of onion? It just, obviously, it makes you cry when you're chopping an onion.
In the IrelandAM office, it said that it got rid of the toxins, is what someone said in the office.
Oh,
right. What about this one?
I have no idea.
Here's another one. For a chesty cough, my sister-in-law used to put potato peels and place them on their chest to clear up a cough. And that was in Lithuania.
That's sort of a Lady Gaga sort of a costume from
yeah,
back
exactly.
in the Matrix
So like peel a few spuds and lay it over you and the cough will be gone. Imagine walking in and seeing your partner lying on the bed.
Just be like, okay, I think we need to
all over them.
Oh, the cold, honestly.
That's definitely it's a you, it's me. It's definitely a you, not me situation if you're breaking up.
If you have any other tried and tested ones, not including the old Calpol, send it in to us, 0896 111.
Good stuff.
The good stuff.
The good stuff.
Now, coming up after the break, best-selling author and Emmy-nominated film producer Trevor Bernie is going to be joining us.
I'll talk to you in a minute on IrelandAM.
You're very welcome back. Now, our next guest is an investigative journalist and award-winning filmmaker, and his life is worthy of its own movie series.
It really is. The last time he was here, he was talking about his investigations into Sean Quinn. Trevor Birney, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you. How are you doing?
Thanks, Trevor.
I'm not too bad.
You got a big smile on your face because you were just back from the British Independent Film Awards. You were in one
Still recovering.
Kneecap. Your movie swept the board. Seven
awards. Yeah, it's just never ending. It's like a roller coaster that just keeps on going, you know. For a film that we didn't know was going to make it out of Belfast, and, you know, we took it to the Sundance Film Festival in January and then right through to Sunday night in London. And it's just amazing. And it's just great news for the cast and crew. Just amazing.
Can we go back, before we talk about how the lads reacted to it, which was brilliant, how did it become a movie? Because we remember a few years ago, Kneecap becoming a thing, going around there, a musical group. What happened for it to become this?
Well, it became a movie all down to one guy, a guy called Rich Pepe, who's a former journalist himself from London. He married a girl from West Belfast, and they both came to live in Belfast. And Rich went into Belfast on a Saturday night out and went to see Kneecap. And we met the following week. We'd been having coffees and chatting at that stage. And he said, I've seen the future, and it's called Kneecap. And we all knew a little bit about Kneecap at the time. They were emerging, and Rich managed to coax the boys into collaborating with them. And out of that came the most amazing script, and he went on to direct it.
It's so good. I watched it again at the weekend. It is so, so good. How did the script come together? Because, were the boys involved in this? Yes, they were, because you could tell that
obviously
it was a lot of their understanding, along with then somebody who knows how to direct a movie and what way to lay it out.
Yeah, well, they had to put an awful lot of their trust into Rich. There's no doubt about it that Rich appeared on the scene, and for a while they thought, is he a cop? Is he a spook? Is he, who is he? You know. So it took a while for him to get the trust built up. But they all collaborated. JJ, Liam Og, and Nisha then began to share their life details and their experiences with Rich in West Belfast and in Derry, where JJ grew up, and out of that came the script, and it's very much infused with the truth. And Rich will never say, the boys will never say what's true and what's not true, but you can make up your own mind.
Because obviously there's so much that goes on around them now, winning that court case against Kemi Badenoch in the UK to get that grant money, which they were rightfully needed, not needed, but deserved. But can we talk about then the success? Because so far in Northern Ireland, one of the most successful books this year has been How to Learn Gaeilge. And this is playing all over the world. Like, you're talking about India, you're talking about America, Iceland. Yeah. It's phenomenal.
It is. It's just this month been rolled out right across Africa, and it'll be released in France and Italy. It was at a film festival in Budapest just a couple of weeks ago, and it's still a long way to go. So the film has been phenomenal, but ultimately it's about our culture, it's about our language, it's about a lived experience in the North at this period of time. And I think Rich captured that, and Kneecap somehow have captured the zeitgeist in Belfast, and I think everything's reflected in the film, and it's like, I'm hugely proud of it, you can tell, and we all are. You know, from the first morning when we shot in Dundalk, we were, anybody who's seen the film, we were digging up the back garden. That was the very first morning, and the three lads walked on, and by lunchtime everybody was going, my God, they can act and they're brilliant. And
I know,
from there on it was just
they really are incredible actors, rappers, a whole lot. It's a fantastic show for people who haven't seen it yet. It's available. I think you can see it on Prime now as well, which is amazing. You're here to talk about your new project, Shooting Crows. It is, of course, transpired from your documentary No Stone Unturned. It talks about the massacre down in Loughlin's Island as well in 1994. We have a quick clip of the documentary. Let's take a quick look at it now.
The World Cup finals. I'd say the biggest day in Irish international soccer history.
Slaughter in Loughlin Island as loyalist terrorists shoot 11 people in the back as they watch the World Cup on television.
I just remember Mum was saying to us that bad men had come into the pub and they'd shot 6 people and Daddy was dead.
Did you see anything?
No.
The getaway car was discovered the morning after the attack.
There was just a sense that something wasn't right.
Somebody somewhere helped these people cover this up.
Trevor, that's No Stone Unturned, the documentary on which your book is based, the new one, Shooting Crows. Tell us about this and what happened on this horrible night while the rest of the island was celebrating Ireland in the World Cup.
Well, that's right. The 18th of June 1994 is etched on our soccer history, on our sporting past, on the celebrations that occurred right across the island after Ray Houghton put the ball in the Italians' net. But in that little village in Loughlin Island, just about 30 miles south of Belfast, there was a very different experience, which, we all come to remember that night for, when a masked gunman walked into a bar. Everyone was watching the match at the time, and shortly after half-time, and he opened fire with an automatic rifle and shot dead 6 men. Another 5 were injured in a purely sectarian attack. He shot them simply because they were there watching the match. They were supporters of the Irish football team, and it was the UVF that claimed responsibility. Ultimately, in a report from the police ombudsman in the North, collusion was confirmed, and that's when we made the documentary. It premiered in New York in October 2017, and that kind of revealed the full details of collusion and the horror that was visited on Loughlin Island on that night, as you say, we all remember for the match, but in the north we all remembered for Loughlin Island as well.
This documentary, it exposed the collusion between the RUC, the Royal Ulster Constabulary, and Loyalists in not exposing who the killers were. You then, in doing this documentary, yourself and your colleague Barry McCaffrey, you were both thrown in prison over this as well. What happened there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I dare anyone to watch the film and not come to the conclusion that somebody should be arrested. And of course, for the families of those who died, they hoped that that would lead to the arrest of the killers, the chief suspects, the PSNI and the RUC's own chief suspects. But instead, on the 31st of August 2018, police came to my home in East Belfast and arrested me and my colleague Barry McCaffrey at his home in South Belfast. And we were accused of breaching the Official Secrets Act, the British Official Secrets Act, because we dared to put a document in the film. Now, we never denied we had this document. It was leaked to us. And, you know, it was quite an incredible thing to do, to put a leaked document into a film, and we were trying to hide the fact that we had it. But the police came to our homes and arrested us and took us off to a terrorist holding centre in the centre of Belfast and questioned us for the rest of the day about this document and whether, in fact, we had somehow managed to steal the document. Again, if we had stolen a document, I hardly believe we'd put it in a documentary for the world to see.
Yeah.
But somehow the police, which I believe that somehow lost their moral compass, had decided that not to go after the killers, but to go after journalists.
Can I just ask you, how's it, like, you have kids and a wife when this happened?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
you're an investigative journalist, whatever else, but I mean, to have the police turn up to your house, it's a frightening experience.
It was a life-changing experience, no doubt about it, Tommy. I mean, for my wife had her family in from London. She had a niece and her husband and 2 young children. And as you know, normally when cousins get together, they're all in one bedroom. And with my 3 daughters, and they're all looking forward to a wonderful bank holiday weekend. So when the police arrived, you know, I could see it through the eyes of James, my niece's husband, who had, you know, grew up in Kent, never experienced it.
Yeah.
And he was kind of looking at me going, this is all about a documentary. And I go, yeah, this is what happens in Belfast when you or get involved in a documentary which deals with collusion. So it changed their lives. My daughters still talk about the impact of that day. And you know, we were very lucky to have children who grew up post-conflict. So they grew up in a fairly normal society.
Yeah.
They never expected to see their father arrested, nor Barry's family either.
But this is something that you've been drawn to throughout your career, and that is covering up this collusion that's happening between state agencies and other actors in society and in Ireland. This is something that has been widespread because of our history.
Indeed, and I think that, you know, it's no surprise that investigative journalists like myself or Barry and all the others who were involved in the team are drawn to this. You know, you can't but help but meet the Loughlin Island families, Emma Rogan, Claire Rogan, the McCrainer family, the family of Barney Green, who was 87 years of age. Like, these are incredible people who do not carry with them any sort of sense of revenge. These are women, men, you know, who get on with their lives, who have campaigned for truth. They've given up on justice, but they've campaigned for truth. And you could never be anything but drawn to them and their determination to try to get at the truth. So, you know, we're inspired by them, and we hope that the film and the book does something to tell their story.
It makes me question, where's the title then, Shooting Crows, come from for the new book?
Well, when the police decided they were going to arrest us, so they went into a court on a Friday afternoon and persuaded a judge to grant the warrants that would allow them to carry out the operation. And the judge actually said, you know, something that really stuck with me. He said, am I sure here that you're not simply trying to shoot a couple of crows in a field in order to scare all the other crows out of the field? And I take that from meaning really what the police wanted to do was to arrest 2 journalists who had investigated the past, investigated collusion in order to scare other journalists out of the field. And that's really part of the chill factor that there is now in the North as a result of this case. And that, you know, I'm not sure if I could look my daughter or any other young researcher who comes to work for us in the eye and say, yeah, I'd like you to investigate collusion now, but you've got to be aware that you could be arrested. It's not really a great career decision. No. So that was really that the Shooting Crows comes from that quip. But I also think that in 1994, loyalism was very much concerned with the embryonic peace process and where it was going to lead. And in some regards, shooting Loughin Island was, the death rattle of the conflict, and it was an attempt in many ways to scare nationalists, to make nationalists concerned about what the peace process would hold. It was all about instability and destabilising the North at that time. And so, unfortunately, Loughin Island and the families of those who died there also know what shooting crows means.
And there's so much more to discuss, because obviously we know that Soldier F, it looks like, from Bloody Sunday, which so much of this goes back to, that there's sufficient evidence to actually prosecute him and bring him to trial. And these are things that you keep on doing. But, Trevor, you do so many other things. Like, every time I look at your IMDb, I'm like, what's he doing now? And how does he have the time? You're involved with the Saipan movie.
Yes, for my sins.
Not to take a massive turn, but the Saipan movie. So we've got Steve Coogan as Mick McCarthy. We've got Éanna Hardwick, the wonderful Éanna Hardwick, as Roy Keane.
Yes.
How is this going?
Well, I was contacted after an ECAP premiered at Sundance. I was contacted by an amazing company in Dublin here, Wild Atlantic Pictures, who I've known for a long time, McDara Kelleher and John Cavill and all the team there, Patrick O'Neill at Wildcard, and these guys at this project called Saipan, and we all went down to Cannes for a few days, and out of that came a conversation where somebody told us that Steve Coogan was looking for a film to shoot, and we went, Steve Coogan, he's Mick McCarthy, and next thing we found ourselves on a soccer pitch in Jordanstown in North Belfast, which was turned into Saipan for a few days. So yeah, that's a movie. That's for 2025. That's all coming next year.
I can't imagine Roy Keane would want to hang around Jordanstown in North Belfast for too long either.
Someplace worse than the facilities in Saipan. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. Tommy would know more about Jordanstown than me.
Perfect views, of course, up there as well. Listen, we're here, of course, to talk about those Shooting Crows, your new book, Mass Murder, State Collusion and Press Freedom. Amazing work that you're doing, Trevor Bernie. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks so much, Trevor. Really appreciate it.
Today we're getting ideas for edible Christmas gifts.
Yes, Erin Bunting is here and she is putting us to work. And it's an easy, simple idea, but you've made it look so gorgeous for Christmas, Erin.
Yeah, it's super simple. We're making they're called chocolate mendiants, but they're basically glorified chocolate buttons.
Mendiants?
Mendiants. So it's actually a traditional gift in France at Christmas time. And they were made and they were decorated with different things to represent the kind of four mendicant orders. So like monks, basically. So there were Augustinians were raisins and the Carmelites were hazelnuts and things like that. But you can do it much more creatively and create all different things. And it's really super simple. Basically, what you need to do is melt some chocolate. There's not really a recipe for this. So I've done a whole range of different ones with white chocolate and dark chocolate and milk chocolate. So you just need to melt some chocolate. You can do that in a bain-marie, which is basically just a heat-proof bowl over like some very just simmering hot water, or you can do it in the microwave, but do it in little blasts so you don't want to overheat the chocolate. And I think you guys are going to
Can we try it?
Come along with me.
So,
well, do you want me to show you what to do?
Well, do you just dab it down, or how are you going to do the button? Sorry.
So the best thing to do is ideally have a small teaspoon that's slightly pointed at the end, because it's much more easy to shape. So you take a spoonful of your chocolate, just sort of wipe it off, and then use some greaseproof paper. You need something that's lined, because you peel them off afterwards. And then you just pour from the tip of the spoon kind of where you want the middle of the button to be. And it should form into a nice kind of reasonably round circle.
I love chocolate buttons.
Yeah, this is a great idea. What chocolate did you use, Erin?
Well, I've used a mixture. I've used some, just some really nice 70% dark chocolate.
Yeah.
That I buy from a nice organic brand.
They're fun with the kids as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but you can also just buy a bar of Lindt or Greens Blacks or whatever your favourite chocolate.
Like that wouldn't taste great.
You don't need to use cooking chocolate at all, no. Just whatever your favourite chocolate is, melt it. And what you want to do is you want to create a couple of buttons and then you want to decorate, because if you put too many buttons out at once, it starts to harden and everything won't kind of stick.
I see what you mean. The white is starting to harden a little bit here.
And then you can just decorate them with a whole range of different...
Well, I had a couple of yours already now, and the ones with the orange peel on it are really good.
Yeah, so we've got some really nice candied orange peel. If you can get candied peel that's like in big pieces rather than that stuff you buy in the supermarkets, like really finely chopped, and then chop it up. It's much more delicious.
So you use that one first,
try
Tommy.
some candied orange peel.
Okay. And what goes better? Obviously, the candied orange probably is gorgeous on the milk chocolate and dark chocolate.
It's really good on the milk and the dark chocolate. I really like the cranberries. There's some cranberries on the white chocolate because the tartness is really nice with the creaminess of the white chocolate. And then I've also got all sorts of little dried flower petals as well that go on top. So, I mean, obviously I love cooking with flowers. So I'm always trying to get a few extra flowers into my meals. So I've got some nice dried rose petals. You can get those pretty easily in like health food stores and stuff, usually sold as like a tea.
Can you get them? That's what I was going to ask you. These aren't ones that you've had to make or press at home in a bulk?
No, I do dry my own flower petals as well, but you can actually very easily buy them online now as well. These little cornflower petals are really pretty. These blue ones, and there's purple ones, and then I've also got some calendula, which is sometimes called
And
pot
like
marigold.
you wouldn't put like daisies or anything on it.
Yeah, you could put a daisy on it. You could press a daisy and put that
Would
on.
it be edible?
Daisies are edible, yeah. Daisies are edible.
What about
And that would work.
dandelions?
Dandelions are edible. I wouldn't press a dandelion and put this. It's quite a punchy flavour.
Oh yeah,
Be
I know,
full on.
Might take away from the chocolate a little bit. wouldn't
No,
it?
you want something that's a bit more, like a little bit of a milder flavour, but just like colourful and pretty. Oh, these look really great, guys. They're so good.
It's actually... Oh, I'm getting a bit messy now. I got...
Karen's,
cocky.
yours are a bit messy there now, aren't they?
But like so easy to do. You could do it with the kids. And then I've also bought, because it's Christmas and it's a bit kind of glitzy.
Yeah.
I've also bought this little pot of edible gold.
Oh, yes.
So you can buy these again online really easily. And then you can just get a little bit of gold. And ideally you would leave the mendiant to set so that the chocolate was set before you push that on.
Would you put these in the fridge and then pop gold on?
Yeah, they actually probably won't need to go in the fridge. As long as you're not in a really hot room, they'll just set up at room temperature after a few minutes. You don't need to put them in the fridge.
Can I try
I want
yours
the
there?
as well.
Yeah.
Your ones that you've done.
What have I
Let's
not?
go
Yeah,
for
so here's a
favourite
little
one.
selection of ones that I made.
Right, let's have a look. I'll
Oh,
try a
aren't they
white chocolate one.
gorgeous?
Aren't they cool? With the gold is good.
I'll try
Yeah,
one of these.
they're it just adds that like kind of little bit of glitz. And then it's such a nice idea if you want to like make a little gift for somebody or something. You can just pop them into a little cellophane bag, a nice little bit of ribbon that you've got lying around. Give it as a gift for when you're going to a party or for teachers or whatever.
They are so pretty.
There's a taste of more on them, Erin.
There sure is.
Right, look forward to sticking those into the fridge. Thank you very much.
You're so
Erin.
Welcome. Enjoy.
Erin Bunting, great to have you with us as always. Thanks, now, Deric is getting a taste for theatre after the break.
Yeah, he'll be making his Panto debut even. We'll see you after this.
You're very welcome back. Now, Deric has been getting a sneak peek at the rehearsals for this year's Limerick Christmas Panto.
Yeah, he's had all the magic and mayhem of Mother Goose thrown at him this morning. Loves nothing more than a bit of Mother Goose being lashed at him. Suits you, Deric.
Guys, I got to wash, cut and blow dry. Good morning and welcome behind the scenes here at the University of Limerick Panto. We're at the rehearsals and all the gang. Good morning, Richie.
Hello, Deric. How are you?
Yeah, we're great. I believe you wore this to the All-Ireland semi-final.
Well, I'm a Waterford man. I'll get shot. But yes, I did wear that in the Limerick Panto. Yeah, so you're wearing the right colours. So I wore it many a time when they won the All-Ireland.
It's great now. Faye Short is with us. Good morning to you,
Thanks
Faye.
for having us.
Yeah, it's great to have you here this morning. First up, let's talk about the Panto, Richie. It's up and running a while.
It's 13 years in the University Concert Hall this year, and there's a great history of it there, and it's brilliant because it's the first time a lot of parents come with their families, so it's a lot of times the kids get an opportunity to witness theatre for the first time. So I think that's the magic of Panto, and we have a great tradition of it in Ireland, especially in Limerick.
Yeah, now let's talk about the Panto this year because it's Mother Goose.
It is Mother Goose. It's my first time doing it. I'm like professionally 25 years doing Panto this year, and so Mother Goose is the first time we're doing it. But it's a great story. It has all those kind of elements that you want of the, the good, the bad. That not always money is the answer to everything, but and we have a great Miles Breen playing Goose.
Yeah,
Mother Goose.
who's the dame as well?
She is the dame, as we call her. She's the queen. So it's a great show, and we've all the ingredients that the Limerick audiences expect from our Panto and concert hall.
Yeah.
Now, Faye, who are you playing this year?
Fairy TikTok at your service, honey. Right, it's my first Panto.
Is it your first panto?
First ever panto, but he's going to look after me.
And mine.
Yeah, he's
I'll
my
mind
lead.
you.
No way,
Yeah,
really?
first ever panto and last no.
She's an natural.
But I mean, you grew up in this at home.
Yeah.
I mean, with comedy with Dad as well.
I know,
Pat's
I know.
tuned in this morning. Good morning, Daddy.
I love you, Daddy.
What's it been like behind the scenes at rehearsals?
It's great. It's so much fun. Like, obviously, so I actually came to see this panto last year in UCH, University Concert Hall Limerick, and it was absolutely incredible. And when I was watching it, I was like, oh my God, I'd love to be in one. And then they reached out to me and asked me, and I was like, oh, full circle moment.
And
Here I am.
Here she is.
Yeah.
And here she is.
Yeah,
and,
it's great crack.
Obviously, you're kicking off when then?
The 19th is the first opening night, isn't it? The 19th of
to the
December.
public, yeah,
to the public.
yeah.
Then we have a few school shows before that. So it's kind of, we're in the height of it now, aren't we?
Yes, yeah, the roller coaster's about to kick off.
Yeah.
And we extend this year up to around the 14th to 15th of January.
Yeah.
But you can get your tickets on uch.ie.
Okay, UCH. Obviously, you're no stranger to the stage, and of course, you're massive online, on TikTok.
Oh,
and your
TikTok. That's why I'm called Fairy TikTok, obviously.
I mean, how does it differ then? I mean, you know, doing stuff online compared to being on the stage?
It's so different. I suppose with TikTok and with Instagram, you can re-record it if you mess up, whereas obviously the beauty of theatre is it's live, baby.
And in fact, you almost messed up this morning because you took a little
a
tumble.
hopper. That'll be on TikTok, don't you worry.
That's the new meme. That's the meme of 25.
Fall into the weekend. I was doing a scene here earlier on and I took an absolute hopper, so yeah.
She was falling for me. I think that's
oh,
what
yeah,
it was.
yeah,
We're
you can
falling
think
for
that,
me.
honey.
In terms of the production then, it is quite a big production, isn't it, in terms of cast and crew?
It's huge. It's huge. The amount of people that work on this production, and we work from an early point in the year. Some people we start around March in the background, and then we all get together and we do it over 2 weeks. But as we speak now, the crew are getting
the costumes are just, as you can see, incredible.
The costumes are incredible, and the woman, in fact, behind all the costumes here is Nikki. Good morning to you, Nikki.
Good morning.
All the way from Scotland.
Indeed, yes.
Nikki, let's talk through two looks here this morning, and our Dame Miles Breen. Tell us what Miles is wearing.
Well, this was fabulous fun to work on, and we have egg baskets, we have eggs, we have geese, we have all the flounces, frills,
and look at all the colour, it looks incredible.
Amazing multicolours, and of course Miles is modelling it beautifully.
Niles, I believe you lost a couple of pounds for the role.
Well, I find with Panto, you know, you want to show your best for the boys and girls, so I generally lose about 10 stone on a Panto diet.
Tell us about this one then, Joe.
So this is the finale frock, which you'll see at the very end of the show. From
Gorgeous,
the down, all the ruffles, bows, lace, gold trim, everything.
And
fabulous.
this is all hand-sewn detail.
It is indeed.
This must take you ages to do, does it?
Yes, I kind of started back in August making. So it's taken absolutely months.
Yes, you'll see the fruits of your labour on stage now.
Yes, I can't wait to see it all in full makeup and hair and wigs and
it's fantastic. Oh, I love it. Anyway, before we wrap up, Jodie is with us here. Jodie, you are our choreographer, and you've been working with the guys for the last couple of months. You're going to teach us a couple of steps before we see the guys in action.
Of course. So here we go, Deric. We have H,
O,
T, T, O, G, O. You can take me hot to go. H, O, T, T, O, G, O. You can take me hot to go.
I think it's time to see the pros in action. Take it away.
Wow, well done.
Harder than it looks, guys.
Our next guests are going to love that
harder
one.
than it looks. Miles O'Brien, a legend of the Limerick Panto scene there. Well done. That hat on Deric.
My kids are dying for the Panto, and no doubt that song's going to be all of this year.
Yes, I can imagine. It'll have to be. Now,
well done, Deric.
Still to come, do you think that Keith Duffy and Brian McFadden would be able to do that?
H-O-T-T-O.
In their sleep. In their sleep. Boys Life are coming up on the show.
We've got DIY decorations for your Christmas preparations.
Plus, the top trichologist shares tips for winter hair care. See you after the break.
This week on IrelandAM, we've teamed up with On Post and SuperValue to give away the ultimate taste of home parcel to send your someone special the things they really want this year. Packed for you with all the delicious favourites, delivered by On Post worldwide. Every day this week, we are giving away a Taste of Home hamper you can send home or abroad, a Christmas stamp book list to add that perfect festive touch, and a €200 SuperValue voucher to take care of all your Christmas needs. It's all the favourites that family and friends really want, and On Post make it simple. Whether it's the perfect taste of home or a thoughtful gift, this Taste of Home parcel is more than just a hamper. It's a delivery of joy, warmth, and that special Irish magic that makes Christmas feel like it should. Send them what they really want this Christmas, and we'll take care of the rest. For more info, see onpost.com/send home. For your chance to win, just answer this question. What day is Christmas traditionally celebrated on? Is it A, the 25th of December, or B, the 1st of January? To enter, call 1550 999 091 or text GIFT to 57199. Best of luck.
There you have it, the best of luck with that. Now, we were discussing a lot of things on the show so far this morning, one of them being homemade remedies because it is cold and flu season.
Yes.
Karen, what's
Well, Marion has an interesting one. We just want to, as a disclaimer, these are sort of, traditional remedies that might not fit in with what we go by now. But Marion does say for a high temperature, put a few drops of vinegar in tepid water and gently sponge the joint areas and under the arms. I swear this brings a temperature down. That's an interesting one. Never heard that before. JJ, I was saying, is homesick with a temperature, my middle guy. And what is a good resource actually before, or if you're not sure how high is a high temperature or what are the barometers again, or when should I be worried or when should I be concerned? The hsc.ie if you go there, but the My Child section is actually a really good resource if you are worried about babies or when to worry. If you have a high temperature in a baby under 4 weeks though, guys, that's when you need to get them into
the doc.
You go straight to the doctor, emergency department. That you don't mess around with. But if they're a little bit older, like my guys are 9 and 10, just if you're not totally sure, it's a good resource.
Yeah, but if you want to annoy your
wonderful advice from Karen this morning.
But if you want to annoy your husband or wife this weekend, go, let's try all these things on you.
What about this one, right? Anna, my mum would put a rectangular sheet of brown paper with Vicks all over it and stick it to her chest and make us sit in front of a roaring fire.
I think that's a brilliant idea. I've done the one you read out earlier, the Vicks on the feet and socks. I swear by that.
Right.
And I've also done the other one that came up earlier.
The
with
potato peels.
No.
On your
I
head.
did rashers, that's where I was going wrong.
Rashers?
Lady Gaga. No, we're laughing. That's what Lady Gaga did for her costume years ago. No, the tilting the cot mattress up. So
I've done
pillow
that
under
too,
the cot
yeah.
mattress
Yeah,
so that
no, I've done that.
everything can run down.
Why do you have to put it on brown paper though? Would the Vicks not do? Does
you
it
just
draw
do
it
it on
out,
you?
or does it
Rub it on your
protect
Probably
you?
just had brown paper in the house.
Sure,
maybe.
why not just make that happen? My granddad swore by TCP antiseptic medicine for a sore throat, says Loretta this morning.
What about
he used to gargle his throat a few times a day. I do that.
The taste of it, wearing.
I do
TCP?
it. It is disgusting. I get really bad laryngitis. I get quinsies and all that kind of stuff.
You
I go
can
to
be
hospital.
quiet.
We opened up the
affliction.
TCP the other day. Hey, what? Get the TCP, lads.
You must have it every morning.
How long was it? You were quiet for? This is another one you do as well. When I feel a cold coming, I put garlic in all my lunches and dinners. I can smell that. I stink, but it wards off the worst of the cold. Thank you for that, Siobhan. There you have it.
Vampires and TCP. This is who I am today, everybody. Next time you see me, just go, come on, let's have a sniff. Let's see how bad it actually is.
Here you go. An old staple. Honey and lemon and hot water will fix a sore throat. Thank you, Stephen. A bit of wise sense there.
That's it.
Thank you so much for all of those today. Very much enjoyed it. Now, Boys Life fans are in for a treat coming up.
Sure are. Yes, Brian McFadden and Keith Duffy are going to be with us next. Oh.
Welcome back now. We love a bit of nostalgia, and our next guests are actual royalty from the 90s and noughties. Still are now.
Yes, they've joined forces as Boys Life and will be taking their tour around Ireland in the new year. Brian McFadden and Keith Duffy join us. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good
morning.
Great to have you with us. Congratulations on the success of Boys Life, and you're coming back to Ireland, playing the likes of the Olympia, the Ulster Hall, Cork City Hall as well. Do you enjoy...
And Galway, don't forget Galway.
Oh, Galway as well.
Leisureland in Galway.
Leisureland in Galway as well. Do you enjoy... Because, you've done the big stadium tours.
Yeah.
I went to see Snow Patrol in the Ulster Hall there recently. The atmosphere and how close you are to it, there's something special about that as well, O'Brien.
Well, we were going to do Croke Park, it was just a bit cold. Really, for January, you know.
You're right, keep that for the summer.
Instead.
Yeah. Looking forward to it, though. I'm back on Irish shores as well.
Yeah, no, it's our first time to come back and do our proper tour in Ireland. And we're excited because, you know, obviously we do a lot of shows everywhere else in the world and we never really come home. And you know, we have to normally drag our families over to England to see us. So it's going to be nice. And we know what it's going to be like when we do the Olympia, because literally half the place is going to be our family.
Yeah.
So it's nice to come back. But, you know, it's you know, playing theatres as well is lovely. It's nice playing the arenas, but when you come back and it's a theatre and you can see the whites of people's eyes, it's a different vibe. And for us, it's nice. We enjoy it.
Yeah, there's a vulnerability to it. I mean, it was an amazing experience for us back in the 90s to play those venues around the world, and the roar of the crowd, it really it moves you. But the craft of performing for a couple of hours on stage it's different in a theatre, because like Brian said, you can see the whites of people's eyes. There's a vulnerability to it. There's a fear to it. You know, I mean, I've done a lot of straight theatre. And going out on stage with a 5-page or 10-page monologue, that's terrifying. But there's something about that really, really gets me going. I love the fear factor. And what we're doing, it's very vulnerable. You know, you're right there up front and personal. And I mean, for me as a music fan, I love U2. I've always loved U2. Would I like to see U2 in Croke Park? Absolutely. I'd love to see them in the Olympia, though. I'd much prefer to see them in the Olympia. So
you've been doing this, like, you started in 2016. I remember when it was like this idea that you were going to head off and do this, and of course it was like, right, we're taking Westlife songs, Boys Own songs, but you got I Would is one of your new songs. That's one of your original songs. So it's lasted a long time. I know we had COVID in the middle there, but this has been a success, and it isn't just, you know, your back catalogue.
It wasn't supposed to be that. You know, the original idea was for the two of us to go out and do a show where, as you said, you know, we did 5 or 6 songs in the first show, and we spoke a lot about our life experiences, both being in bands, and, you know, it was supposed to be one tour, a couple of months, wasn't it? 3 or 4 months. And 9 years later, it's kind of snowballed into this other thing. You know,
we're actually starting to get really good now.
It's taking us time, but
it was never supposed to be like we were never supposed to be. Boys Life was never the band name. Boys Life was the name of the show. It was Keith Duffy and Brian McFadden, Boys Life, for the one show, and then, you know, a lot of the people were kind of ringing in after the show. Ringing in, I sound like we're a TV show.
I was about to say, Joe Duffy's ready to go, bring it in.
They were tweeting us and all that
DMs.
stuff.
Yeah.
Basically saying to us that, you know, between the two bands, we've over 21, you know, number ones in the UK. So we were only doing 6 or 7 songs, and people were kind of going, we want to hear more music. So we turned it from that show into just going out and performing the hits of the two bands. And that's kind of gone then to us writing our own music, and here we are now, touring the world with our own music and the old stuff too.
And you obviously get on well, and you're not controlled.
Just very good actors.
Sometimes.
But you're not controlled by a label, which you would have been back in the day, so you kind of have a bit more of your own say.
Yeah, we work very much on our own schedule. You know, we're a lot older now than we were in the 90s, obviously. But our show is wild. We don't know from night to night what way our show is going to go. You know, there is a structure to it, but the two of us are, you know, loose cannons. We have a great time. It's a good night out for everybody, you know. I mean, waiting this long to come home to Ireland, I don't. Maybe we should have came home sooner now, but coming home to be a stocking filler is what we're doing. Come on home and be a stocking filler. You know, we open in Belfast on the 15th of January, and then we've got north, south, east, and west. We've got Belfast, Cork, Galway, and Dublin. We're doing a little sneaky one on the 27th of December. In Drogheda.
Oh, right.
A little small kind of toe dipper in Drogheda on the 27th of December.
Proper Christmas stocking.
Yeah, proper Christmas stocking.
But you've got a lot going on, because I think we've seen it's heavily promoted, and it's no matter what. It's the Boys Own documentary that's coming out soon, Keith.
Yeah.
On Sky.
But Boys Own got back together. We did a 20-year anniversary tour. We did a 25th anniversary tour, and we said we wouldn't do a 30th anniversary tour. But when the 30th anniversary came upon us, we were approached by a lot of people to see what we wanted to do. And we just kind of felt that it was time. In the success of Boys Own in the 90s, we didn't have social media. There was a great deal of success in Southeast Asia, Australia, around the world that nobody really realised or nobody was aware of, because there was no social media. And obviously, the whole start of Boys Own, that infamous Late Late Show, And we've never lived that down.
Yeah.
We still get jeered and slagged off about it, but we went on to sell over 40 million albums. So you learn your craft. It's like an apprentice.
Look at those braces. Look at those braces.
Yeah, shape of your life.
He still walks around the dressing room like that.
I'm not joking.
I don't wear that many clothes in the dressing room.
You're probably in better shape now.
All right, Margaret, what was the story?
But how was looking back, at the documentary? Because we would all think, Boyzone, happy band, like losing Stephen Gately must have been so horrible, but you're this huge success story. Everyone felt like they knew you, that it was just brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, the music business was a lot different back in the 90s because you didn't have downloads or streaming, and there was a lot more television platforms like the Top of the Pops, Pepsi chart show. Bands were a lot more out there. You'd see them. They became part of your living room a lot easier. Bands today, it's much more difficult for them to kind of make it into a household name like we did in the 90s, which thank God, because that's what gives Brian and I the platform to do what we do now. But shooting the documentary, I think we're going to call it 33 and a third at one stage, because when we started off in the UK, everybody used to ask us to say 33 and a third, 33 and a third. But yeah, it's you know what?
It's dark. I've seen it. It's dark. It's like,
I'd say that
because you think of a boy band, you think of Boyzone, and even when the kind of documentary starts, it's all kind of glossy and all these amazing things, and then when you actually see the four boys talking, you're getting a real insight. It's not glamorous at all, and I thought it was amazing. And obviously, as a fan growing up, in Dublin, Boyzone, where you were a household name to us, and you kind of see things going, I never knew that was happening behind the scenes. So it's a really good watch.
Is it something that we on the outside don't have a clue?
Yeah.
Whenever you're controlled by a label, you're just going place to place to place. You have no real say in it. And listen, we saw like the unfortunate passing of Liam Payne, One Direction. And as a band, I'm sure they maybe come together. But do people really know what it's like?
Well, I think the documentary that Brian did gave people a bigger...
Boyband's Forever.
Boyband's Forever, yeah.
It gave people a much better insight into the mental health of members of boy bands because of the work schedule that the record company puts in place. We're a sellable commodity. We have a shelf life. And the record company doesn't see us as human. So there's no family time, there's no holiday time, there's no, as Roy Keane would say, sure, it's your job. But at some stage, it has to give.
And a lot of you're young.
I mean, most bands, like, Take That broke up after 5 years the first time round. Boyzone broke up after 6 years. Brian left Westlife after 6 years. There's that 5-6 year itch where you haven't had a holiday, you haven't had a break, you're running. You can't enjoy your success. You can't enjoy your newfound fame and success because you're so tired. Sleep deprivation is a killer.
And the one thing I'll say about the documentary is I know the boys, and I was, Westlife went on tour with Boyzone in '98, so we spent a lot of time with them. And I spent most of the documentary going, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So, and even being that close, you still don't know what exactly is going on.
Because you were giving that insight in the Louis Theroux documentary as well, just giving your opinion on it. But one thing that happened this year, sure, it had everyone talking. Like, we were sitting inside here going, Brian's gone on Nicky Burns' podcast. People really wanted to see you back together. They wanted to see what would happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's still big news.
I've always got on with Nicky, though. I've got on with everybody, but I've always kept close to Nicky. We always see each other and text each other. So it was funny because I saw that he was doing the podcast, and I said to Keith, wouldn't it be gas if I went on and we talked about it? And then a couple of days later, Nicky actually texted me, do you fancy coming on? I loved it. It was great. I was out in his house for a couple of hours, and I found it quite therapeutic, actually, to kind of talk about. Because a lot of the stuff that we talked about, I never spoke about before. And because, I'm getting to that stage now, I'm 44, I'm getting old, you forget a lot of things. And to kind of have him remind me of stuff.
You poor old man.
No, but you know what I mean? Like,
wait till you're 50.
Like, I try and talk about my Westlife days, and I forget a lot of it because there was so much happened in the 6 years. So when Nicky was kind of saying things to me, it brought up so many amazing memories. And it was almost like I relived those 6 years again with Nicky that day.
It was
I
a
really enjoyed
really
it.
good podcast. And I think for a lot of fans, we're able to kind of always put closure on it. And there was always those questions about it. It was lovely to see
it was nice for the two of us
having a pint together after and everything else.
I didn't know what Nicky had in his head of why I left the band.
Yeah, exactly.
And for both of us, I think we had that both sides didn't really know what the full reason was, because obviously after the press conference, I went this way, they went that way. And then we did separate interviews, but we never actually sat down after the press conference and talked about it. So it was, listen, I loved it. It was lovely to get back and have all those memories again with Nick.
But I suppose it's like, when you put it that way, when you sit down, it was a job. Do you know when some people, you leave job, you move to a different job, you mightn't see other people from work again for a very long time.
Absolutely.
But we've connected you so
You mean
much
like
in
me
your
and
head.
you? Is that what you're getting at? You're talking about me and you, Miriam, are you? Our infamous radio show that we had.
Well, you've brought it up now.
So you've
brought it up. You've opened the door
No,
there,
the best part was...
No, don't.
Hold on. No, I'm not talking that one. I'm talking another one. I only drove my motorbike on a Saturday, the day of our radio show.
So myself and Keith used to do a radio show together in 98 FM, just to let you know.
So the only time I'd ever drive my Harley was through the tunnel over to 98 FM every Saturday. And it's an old Harley, it's a vintage one. So like you don't know how much fuel is in it, right? And I only drive it on a Saturday. So I get broken down in the tunnel, right? And Maureen has to start the show now. It's a live show. And people are going, there's some gobshite stuck in the tunnel, broken down on his motorbike, and she doesn't know it's me. You know, and eventually
he was like, I'm on my way.
Go to the AA roadblock.
There's no service on your phone in the tunnel, right? So I'm there going, what am I going to do? But then all these sirens went off and lights flashed, and this flatbed truck came and got my motorbike, and the guys were brilliant. They brought me down to the filling station in Dublin Port. I filled it up, and I get into work, and I'm like 20 minutes late. And we're there looking at all the things on the screen going, some lunatic broken down in the tunnel. Oh, that was me.
Well, listen, things haven't changed. Wern used to have to be your teacher. She's my teacher.
Great teacher.
Takes charge of the intros, the outros, the whole lot. Checks
and
the
she pressed all the buttons in the studio as well.
Because you've gone from worldwide success to Corrie to the Saturday morning show. The intro, we have to take a listen to it though. What was it again?
This is Keith's,
you were going to do this anyway.
This is Keith's first day of our
You were going to do this
together.
anyway.
And,
have you heard this, Brian?
This is Keith Duffy introducing a song. Let's take a listen.
So if you want to play, simply text in your name, where you are, to 53981 and do your suburb proud. Now, next up we have In Excess, Miles Tiffy.
Veils and mistakes.
Hang on. In my defense. Hang on.
Mystify. Sorry.
Mystify me, right? But listen, you're not supposed to publicly insult somebody with dyslexia. That's disgraceful.
Stop it.
That's disgraceful.
Are we bringing up things that have gone viral, like went wrong on shows? Are we?
Oh, listen.
Siblings.
It happens every day on this show. We're well used to it. No judgment.
Is that his viral video? No.
Oh my God. Well, if you want to laugh today, make sure you go home and Google 10
It was
siblings.
the best day of my life. I fell underneath the desk and I think I laughed for 20 minutes. I forgot. I don't know if we went off air. I was like, that's the best thing that ever happened. Genuinely, we're such a joy to work with. Amazing. You were so good to
Of
work
live
with.
television.
She's only saying that because I bought her a big bunch of flowers on the last day.
I broke down in the tunnel, sure you did.
Here,
I saw Keith Duffy and Kerry an hour ago.
Here, I'd say Karen Costa would disagree with you there. We worked together once. I don't think she'd ever work with me again.
They work with
both of them.
We did the toy show, remember that?
Yeah. Nothing but high praise. Fair play to you, lads. Listen, you're going to be on tour. You're going to be every corner of Ireland in January from the 15th to the 19th of January. Check it out on Boys Life. Online as well. Lads, it's great.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Happy Christmas, everyone.
Brian
Lovely
and
to
Keith.
have you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. You're very welcome back. Now we're getting inspiration now for our festive decor.
Yeah, DIY expert Ash O'Bukla has some simple but stylish ideas that you can make at home. I'm loving this idea. So even if you're starting with the garland, if you've old decorations, you've given them a purpose.
Yep, so we can make a wreath for the front door. So you can see here, we're literally just going to feed through the baubles onto this. We're going to put some garland here onto a pole. And then we have Christmas tree napkins.
But this is great because the baubles then, when they lose their string, they kind of just get chucked into the bin.
Yeah.
And it's
Where
waste.
this actually, you can just kind of feed them through. So what do you do? You get your hanger.
So you're going to get a hanger here. Usually you get them from the dry cleaners. And you just unhook the top there. As simple as that. I'll give it to you to make it round. Do you want to put it around your hip area or your waist?
What, to make it round?
To make it circular, yeah.
Right, okay.
Keep going
and
there.
And just tie that here.
Thrust there, yeah. You don't even need to tie it. And that'll take the bend out of it then. So see now.
Good job. That's perfect.
So you did a great job there. And then just literally circular those off there.
And then just you're twisting it together then?
Yeah,
Oh,
but what
no, you
I
want
do
one,
then
obviously.
is, I cut this off just to make it straight. So you'll see on Karen's one there, it's completely flat. And you just simply feed them through.
Okay. How many baubles would you need?
Usually 60 of a standard size.
Okay.
But there is no rhyme or reason. So you've just put a lovely star on it there.
Yeah.
And you can use small and big. And then you literally hang it off the door. You can add in something like this, which is, you can get these in Woodies or Deals.
Yeah.
And they have lights, so you can put that behind it or dress the
I love
centre
this.
of it.
I was just giving my wife a hard time yesterday because we have so many baubles sitting around.
Yeah.
And she was, I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
But this would be
Yeah,
great,
And you
wouldn't
don't
it?
want to just chuck them.
No, and if you have teeny tiny ones, you can make little napkin rings for the table on Christmas Day. A little bit more patience needed.
Now, is there a smaller version you can make then, or is this...
There is a smaller one you can make. So if you have the wire, you can just buy pieces of wire or even old elastic for the kids, so they make the bracelets.
Yeah. Oh,
You can feed them through that, and then you can put them around napkins on Christmas Day. Because
for
some
the
of
table.
the baubles, I don't have the tiny ones here.
Oh, little ones.
Yeah, the teeny tiny ones, you'll see, they can literally just go in rings.
That'd
And
be
then
nice
you've
on
got
the
your
table
own. Yeah,
as well.
Again, you're
cute.
reusing, so it's always a good thing to reduce and
Do you have a finished one there? Just hold
Yeah,
that for
sorry.
that.
So this is a small one here. So again,
Lovely.
there's no rhyme or reason. You will, we've just shown you some of the wire here so you can see how it's made, but you can see down there, there's no wire on view. So when it's hanging up on the door then, that's a smaller one, but a full-size hanger will take about 60 baubles.
You have an idea as well if people are stuck for space, if they're living in an apartment or whatever, you just
or
don't
a
have room
smaller
for a
house,
huge...
or they can't afford spending €40 on a tree.
Well, that's true as well.
You can get command strips and put them up on the wall. I did a miniature version here in the shape of a tree, so it's triangular, and then you just feed the wire through. The big tip with command strips is leave them up an hour before you put anything on them.
So I've never done that before, apart from this year, because I use them to hang stockings.
Yeah.
And I did actually leave them the full hour, and it does make a difference. You're so impatient, you just want to get up and hang.
Get the pictures
make
up and
so the
everything.
adhesive properly sets.
Exactly.
Leave it for
Yeah.
the
Do
hour.
that on the window.
Yeah, you
that'd
can
be
do it
very
on the
sweet.
window,
Well,
on walls. If you don't have a huge amount of space, you can put it on a wall and put presents underneath. But yeah, on a window would look
An
great as well.
alternative for a Christmas tree. That's pretty
absolutely.
handy.
Now, we've been all very excited by the pole here that you've installed. What's the idea behind this?
This is, I believe, I'll leave that to you, Tommy, rather than me.
Right.
But this is a tension rod. So this one here is actually for a shower curtain in a bathroom. Got this one in Woodies, but you can also use the smaller, cheaper tension rods for neck curtains or voile.
Now, that's really easy to put up. It's not being screwed or anything. You just
No.
twist it
Twist
and
it in.
expands out.
Exactly, and you can see there that's up good and solid. So we're going to leave it at this height for me today, but in theory you'd be raising it up then to the full height, and you can leave it around a window, in an alcove or between an extension area, and we'll
what are you
dress it
doing
now.
with it?
So we're going to dress it today. So I have these pieces here. Again, got these in Woodies, and these are really good ones. So they bend, and we're going to wrap this around the pole.
Oh, show
and you
us,
guys
yeah.
are going to
Let's have
help
a
me.
look. Come on
so
then.
the short ones are for the side, because I like to have a drop down on the sides.
Right.
So if you want to put that one up first, literally wrap it around. A bit more than that,
Oh,
Tony.
no, wrap it around,
Yeah.
actually.
So there's hooks there.
Right.
Perfect.
So
Go
how
again.
tight do you want it?
Fairly tight, yeah.
And then you can twist
And
that
then,
in,
and you can move all of these around. You can do whatever you want there. And then if you want to get a side piece there, the shorter
Come on,
ones.
Karen, in you come.
Oh no, one of the side
Shorter ones, yeah.
Yeah,
So if you want
okay.
to just hook that on the side there.
I see.
I'm going to layer another one in here because I don't want to see too much of the pole. And Tommy, if you want to put the other one there on the side.
And then I've seen this on social media. Do you push it up then at the end?
up
Okay,
to
so
the
that's
real
easy
height.
enough to do.
Yeah, so if we weren't in,
Right.
we'd stand up and just get it up onto the full height. And then you can add lights. These are remote control battery operated ones from Dunn's, so
That's
very
all right,
handy.
doesn't it?
Especially if it's up high up. And
But-
you can literally just put lights on that there.
But you can really go to town on this.
Oh,
you
you
could be
could,
adding
yeah.
bows, baubles. You could spray it with some fake snow.
Exactly, you can put decorations on the
Sorry
side
about
again.
Karen's
You
here
can bring
now.
the
Okay, right.
bows.
I wasn't giving
Sorry,
it.
Tommy.
Okay.
Oh.
Bring the bows
I
in
peeked with the
side.
chocolate buttons earlier, right? I've run out of
Yeah, you
creative
can just
juices.
cover up her version attempt there, right?
No, Karen, you did it right. We want it hanging down.
Wanted it hanging, yeah.
We
and
wanted
just keep
it,
dressing
yeah,
it
the
as you
length
go.
either side, because that hides the fixture then at the end there,
All
Tommy.
right.
See?
So that's the impact. Tommy's put his one on the bar, but
Yeah, well, to be happy.
otherwise...
But
it'll
just
be-
keep going and kind of layering with it.
And you
I
can
love
put on
that
your
idea.
baubles, you can put on anything on it, because these are all bendy.
Yeah.
we can liven it up. But if you have old bits around the house, you can even use real stuff.
And how much
Footings.
weight can that take? Like, should you be worried?
No, that one's a good one. So
Is
that can
it?
take 20 to 40 kg.
Can you show us quickly how to do this for
Yes.
a Christmas table?
Yeah.
A napkin.
Oh,
a
the bubbles
Christmas
are going
tree.
everywhere,
Look at that,
sorry.
That's really impressive.
So I don't know about you guys, but I went to a restaurant a long time ago and the napkin was in the shape of a swan.
Oh, lovely.
I thought it was the poshest thing in the world.
Yeah.
So today we're going to do Christmas trees instead of
Okay,
napkins.
go on.
You want to grab one each very quickly.
Right, let's
You
go.
want a square napkin,
Yeah.
not rectangular,
Okay.
trust me. And you're just going to fold it down into a rectangle.
Yeah.
Try and do it in a flat surface, Tommy, just because you have to keep folding it.
Yeah.
And then fold it again into a smaller square.
Okay.
Great job. And then see this bit here at the bottom?
Yeah.
So we're going to fold those up and leave a
to
bit of a
different
distance
levels.
each time. Yeah.
Oh, that's
You
good.
can see your shape is coming in now. Very good. Karen, that looks particularly good.
Thank you.
Great. And then just flatten it down. I've brought these. Linen would be much, much easier. Good job, Tommy.
Yeah.
The linen would be a lot easier, but these look really convincing with the
Definitely
fabric.
linen make a difference, wouldn't
It
it?
would, yeah. And then flatten it out again. And
Right.
you are literally going to, this is the only awkward bit, but it's not awkward. Fold that over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and fold the other one over.
Yeah.
So in theory, you're aiming for 2 triangles.
Yeah.
And then turn it over again.
Yeah.
And this is what it's going to look like. And we're going to tuck in each piece.
That is cute, Ash.
And it'll turn into that. And that way you can
is
impress anyone on
dozy.
Christmas
Like that's
Day.
even kid-proof. Like
Yeah.
that's nearly like a Christmas tree, isn't it?
Yours is very close. And then at the end, you just tuck that in.
Oh, there
at
you
the
go.
back there. And away you go.
That's very clever. Yeah, I could even do that. That's
Yeah,
great.
you can stand them up if you want, but I prefer to put them flat. One less
Love
thing
it.
to fall down on the
Christmas table sorted.
Yeah, love that.
Ash O'Buckler, thank you so much. How can
No
people
problem at all.
find you online if they want to find you?
I'm at Doing Up My Home.
Doing up my
Excellent.
home. There you go.
Thanks
That's
for those
great.
tips.
Thank you very
Like
much.
that. Thanks, Ash. Okay, up next, top hair care tips to keep your locks looking luscious this winter.
Let's see after the break.
Welcome back. Well, the colder weather can cause all sorts of bother for our skin and our hair.
Here with top tips for winter hair care is trichologist Claire Fulham. Lovely to have you with us, Claire. Thank you so much. And the messages that are coming in are all about dry scalp, dandruff, all these kind of things, because there is a difference. So dry scalp,
Yes.
what is it?
Dry scalp is dry skin. So very simply, it's an accumulation of dead skin cells up on the scalp. And some people can get rid of them really easily and then some people can't. And that will obviously kind of accumulate up on the scalp and cause like flaking and all that kind of stuff. But I think people see flakes and they just call it dandruff. But they're like, as you said, the opposite to each other. So dry scalp is simply dry skin. If you have dry skin on your face, on your body, and on your scalp, it's probably dry scalp. Do you know that kind of way?
And so all the factors that exacerbate dry skin during the winter, it's the same for our scalp.
100%.
It's just a continuation.
Yeah, and even a bit more problematic because even though our skin is more exposed, of course, than our scalps would be, for most people, you're like taking on and off hats, you're like, do you know that kind of way? Like some of your habits that you might do in the summer months will have to change, or that kind of way in the winter months a little bit. But the difference between the two of them, like I always say to people, is your scalp itchy before you get into the shower or after? Right? So just think about that for a second, right? So if your scalp is itchy before you get in and wash your scalp and hair, it's probably dandruff. And if your scalp is itchy and sensitive and irritated after the shower, it's probably dry, sensitive scalp. So that's a good tip for someone to try and like identify which is which, do you know?
Well, okay, so why would that be?
So if you think about it, like somebody with an oily scalp, okay, like a dandruff-prone scalp, because dandruff is an overproduction of oil, okay, they would have a lot of growth up there. They'd have bacteria up there and stuff as well. So quite like, acne and everything else, it's irritated, right? So it needs to be washed out. That's dandruff.
Gotcha.
Dry scalp, like the water in Ireland, right, our hard water, okay, that will irritate and dry out further the skin and the scalp and everything else. So before the shower, it's dandruff if it's itchy. After the shower, it's dry scalp.
Does having your hair coloured worsen it as well?
Do you know what? Some people with really bad dandruff or different issues like seborrheic dermatitis, which is like the step up from dandruff, they love getting their hair coloured. because it's kind of strips
Stripping
their
of the
scalp
oil,
a little
yeah.
bit, you know. Then other people with dry scalp, they normally have more of a sensitivity, so it will kind of irritate them and, you know, get itchy and all that kind of stuff.
But you don't necessarily say, I can't colour my hair because I have dry scalp. There are
No.
ways around it.
100%,
Okay,
yeah.
what do you have with us? What can help us?
So I suppose, like, really what we're trying to do is teach people to lean on, like, especially for your shampoos, lean on shampoos for the scalp you have, okay? A lot of people shop for shampoos for the hair they want,
I
right?
love that you say
no,
that.
right?
Gotcha.
If you have a dry scalp, you have to use a dry scalp shampoo, you know? This one here is the Juniper Therapy shampoo. I describe it like a power hose for the scalp. So if you have any sort of irritation in the scalp, dryness, dandruff, seborrheic dermatitis, psoriasis, this will, like, clear it off. Do you know that kind of way? Like, literally very, very powerful product. Now,
Is that a one-off then if you're talking about power hosing, or is that like a weekly, twice weekly?
Depends. Like, if you're someone that has very bad issue with the scalp, you'd use this regularly and then you'd put it on the shelf and you'd grab it once a week. Does that make sense? So you'd kind of use it intermittently a little bit. But now there's a catch, right? It absolutely stinks. I don't know if you want to give it a go. Yeah. But the conditioner paired up with it will kind of mask that a little bit. It's strong, isn't it?
What does it smell of?
It's not as bad because I've got both dry scalp and dandruff, so I'm like,
all the
I
treats.
smell amazing. So
it's strong.
It's just kind of a medicinal smell.
Medicinal, but it clings to the hair. Do that kind of way? So the conditioner.
But you smell clean, I presume.
Yeah,
it's very clean smelling.
And do you know what? It will really, really get rid of anything. Most
Where
things
can
up
people
there.
get that? I don't know
you
that
can
brand.
get that on trua.ie.
Okay.
So that's our clinic.
So you're just saying that the conditioner will be the one to neutralise that smell.
That's what it's supposed to do. It's like a pineapple-y, citrusy smell that will kind of neutralise it. But if you've anything up on the scalp, anything that you can't get rid of, you're struggling to get rid of, lean on that for a little while.
What's this one?
This is therapeutic. So this is a conditioner for the scalp, which makes some people's skin crawl, right? They're like, I'm never putting a conditioner near my scalp. But if you've got a very, very dry scalp, or if you've got inflammation up on the scalp, this guy you're going to lean on. So what you would do is you'd maybe do 2 shampoos of Juniper. You'd rinse it out, you'd leave it on for as long as possible, and then you'd put therapeutic up on your scalp. What therapeutic will do is really hydrate that area while you're in the shower. You'd put that all over your scalp, so a little squirt into the palm of your hands, like John Travolta in Grease. You're going to pull it through the scalp, right? Give it a little, like, massage in. Put your hair conditioner, you know, hair mask.
Can you do that again? Just show it again to camera.
So
what you just did.
therapeutic, you're going to put it into your hands like this, and then you're going to pull it through your scalp, and literally all over the scalp like this. So you're going to massage it. You could get a little scalp brush if you wanted to kind of, you know, hydrate it and everything else. And then put hair conditioner in the ends, or hair mask. Let's upgrade to a mask for the winter months because you need that more hydration.
And leave it in for 3 minutes in the shower, 3 to 5 minutes in the shower.
And rinse it all out.
What's this a tub of?
Omegas. So omega 3, 6 and 9, they're like the internal moisturiser, really, to be honest. So if you're someone who suffers with dry scalp or dry skin, you should be absolutely leaning on these guys as well. Do you know? Great for brain health as well. There's so many benefits, of course, we know, to omegas. But if you suffer with dry scalp, like, it's a no-brainer. You know?
This one, exfoliator.
Exfoliator. There's no point in doing any of this stuff if you're not exfoliating. So exfoliation is the key to all scalp care and a lot of skin care as well. Like, if you want, you know, different products to penetrate sebaceous glands, to penetrate follicles, you need to get rid of everything up there first. Makes sense. Do that kind of way? Like, nothing will work without that. So that's the kind of spine of scalp care, I suppose, do you know, is exfoliation. So important.
And then at the end there, what you've got is, are they for the dandruff?
Yeah. So dandruff is an overproduction of oil. So these guys are like a Xanax for your sebaceous glands. They're going to calm it all down, right? So they're going to, your sebaceous glands, if you have dandruff, are like this, right? So you need to, like, calm down a little bit, quieten them down. And these guys are really help
anxious hair.
For anxious scalp,
I feel like I need it all.
Yeah.
I'm like, can I put them all on at the same time? As always, you come in and you sort stuff out for us. I really appreciate it. People can find you online.
On Trua, on Instagram.
Yeah, you'll find you there, as always. Trichologist Claire Fulham. Thank you so much. Thanks, Claire. Look at her fabulous hair. Tommy, another fabulous hair in this fella as well.
Fabulous. It's fading away, Claire. Can you sort that out? Coming up on tomorrow's show, Women's Breakthrough World Rugby Player of the Year. Erin King is going to be here with us. We're going to get advice on how to make smart decisions in a noisy world. We all need that. Plus, we are painting a sexy snowman, guys.
Girls are allowed to sit beside each other. Are you going to be our sexy snowman tomorrow?
I'll do whatever you want.
We're painting her, guys.
I can do sexy, I can do dandruff.
Snowman outfit.
Wreaths.
There you have it. We'll see you tomorrow from 7.
Bye.